I am so angry that I am practically seething right now. So, supposedly, there is no money to help those families in North Carolina that were devastated by Hurricane Helene. 70,000 homes were damaged or destroyed, and 100 people were killed. FEMA workers were told to skip houses flying Trump flags out front, and there are still people living in tents without reliable electricity, and it's wintertime. Supposedly, there's no money. Oh, but we sent $50 million to Gaza to buy condoms in Gaza. And we found another $10 million for advancing LGBT causes in priority countries around the world. There's no money to give our veterans timely, efficient healthcare services, but we could send $20.71 billion, that's with a B, billion, to Afghanistan and let the Taliban take it, since after we pulled out. Oh, and we found another $10 million to buy meals for an Al-Qaeda-linked terrorist group. And lo and behold, we could find $6 million to put towards transforming digital spaces to reflect feminist democratic principles. There's no money to build emergency encampments or treatment facilities for our homeless population to try to get them off the streets, but somehow we found $10.3 million to spend on an Arabic language version of Sesame Street in Iraq to promote understanding, equality, and tolerance. Oh, and another $2.1 million to help the BBC value the diversity of Libyan society. Many of our schools are languishing in this country in high poverty communities, and many of our teachers are routinely being paid circus peanut wages. Well, that's just too bad. There's no money for that. It can't be helped. But we can find $2.5 million and send it to Vietnam to produce electric cars. And we can send $25 million to some British professional services outfit named Deloitte to promote green transportation in the country of Georgia. If people can't afford routine medical care because the prices have been jacked up through the roof, well, that's just tough. It can't be helped. There's no money. If our citizens can't afford groceries, or our senior citizens are having to choose between refilling their prescriptions or paying for their utility bills, they'll just have to suck it up and deal with it. There's no money for that. Oh, but we could find $7.9 million to teach journalists to avoid binary gendered language in Sri Lanka. And we could find $1.5 million to advance DEI in Serbian workplaces. Under the previous administration, we couldn't find the money to finish our border wall, to bring on more ICE agents, to stop the cartels, or to seal our border. But somehow we found $4.5 million to combat disinformation in Kazakhstan. We could find $3.9 million for LGBT causes in the Balkans. And we could find $6.3 million for homosexual men in South Africa. There's no money to keep our hospitals open in rural communities, but we could sure find $2 million for sex changes and LGBT activism in Guatemala. And $6 million to fund tourism in Egypt. Now, we could find that, couldn't we? We found $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, and $32,000 for some transgender comic book in Peru. There's money for all of that. There are areas even right here in my state of Oklahoma that still do not have reliable Wi-Fi service. Well, that's just too bad, isn't it? There's no money. Oh, but there was enough money to send $600,000 to fund technical assistance for family planning in Latin America. And we can all just about imagine what technical assistance for family planning means now, can't we? $4 million could be sent for the Center for Climate Positive Development. Center for Climate Positive Development, $4 million. Oh, and $70,000 for the production of a DEI musical in Ireland. This has been going on right under our noses when America was woke leftist la-la land, the one that the Democrats had turned it into. Are you stunned yet? Do you see why this nation just overwhelmingly voted to put President Trump back in the White House? What I want to know is this. Why was nobody blowing the whistle on this filth the entire time it was going on? This stinks to high heaven. And I want to know where the Washington bureaucrats, who were supposed to be providing oversight on these goons, have been hiding their heads. There's a new sheriff in town, and I tell you what, this conservative Republican is glad he lived to see the day it happened. I may not always agree with President Trump's administration about every jot and tittle of everything they do, but the scumbags who handed our tax dollars out like it was candy to promote their woke garbage belong in jail, as far as I'm concerned, and the nincompoops that let it happen, either because they were giving silent assent or they were asleep at the wheel, need to answer to the American people who sent them to Washington. They were supposed to be minding the store. And we, the American people, want to know why they weren't.